Hey Libra, welcome to Divine Duality Tarot. My name is TJ. It is May and I have a love reading for you. So what I do here is pretty much just a basic romance spread to try to get a good idea of what's going on between you and whoever this romantic interest is. That way you have a little bit of forewarning rather than no warning at all going into this. That's my catchphrase. I know exactly what it's like to walk into a situation and legitimately have no clue what's happening. You're the one throwing up your hands. What's going on here? I'm not a big fan of that feeling, so what I do is a basic spread to try to get down to the bottom of what the actual problem is between you and your partner. So I draw two that represent your energy in this situation. I then will draw two that represents your partner, your interest, whoever this person may be, their energy going into it. And then I try to get the problem, the focal point, whatever the shared energy, the shared situation, what's causing the problem. So, what I'm going to do is go over these cards and what they mean. And then we'll piece it all together and see what we can do, Libra, about figuring out what's going on. Excuse me. Since you're the star of the show, Libra, I'm going to start with you. Leading off, you have the world. The world is it's the final phase of a part of the relationship. It's the ending of one phase, the beginning of another in a ridiculously significant way. As an example, if you're just dating and then you get married, that is a new phase. That is the end of a significant phase because dating is significant. And then you're moving into the next stage, the next phase. Normally this has a lot to do with a massive learning lesson as well. You've found out your mistakes, you've learned from them, you move on as a better person. You also have the Hermit, which is going within yourself for answers. It's introspection, it's digging deep down to find what your actual situation is. It's kind of the whole turning off the outside noise. I don't know how your friend's situation is, but we always have that person who's saying things like, they're terrible for you, or that person is just such a butthole to you all the time. And those outside influences make you think those things. The Hermit is you turning that off. The Hermit can also be a bad thing because if you're inside looking into yourself to see what you have to try to gauge the issue, that's a good thing. But if you get in your own head where the scenarios start forming and you're no longer listening to either your logical side or outside influences, however that would affect you, then we kind of get in this big hamster wheel thing where we're making situations way bigger than they should be. So, you have the world and you have the Hermit. The world, the Hermit. Together, this signifies that you're on the cusp of something big. There's a big change that's happening, but you might be questioning whether it's worth it. You might be questioning whether, is that what you should do? Consider it a cold feet thing. As an example, if somebody's about to get married and it's the day of, and the bridegroom, whatever your situation is sitting there thinking to themselves, is this actually what I want? You are trying to figure out what is the best road to take. Should I stay or should I go? Should I, that is the most baseline thing I can think of. You are in a big situation, a big change, a big option, a big opportunity, a big, but could it be a big failure? You know what I mean? It's a huge situation, and it has the potential to really drastically change your life. That's why, mentioning marriage and such, those are very large, big commitments. Whatever the situation is that you have going on, Libra, it's big, and you know it, but you're questioning the outcome, so you're in your own head about it. For better or worse is yet to be seen. So, Libra, sound like you? Let's see what's going on with your romantic interest here. So they have the Six of Wands, which is victory. It's a power couple. It's somebody who sees an equal that's just as strong, just as capable of success as they are. This is somebody who feels that they are destined for greatness with their partner. It's a power couple, people that are gonna go far, do big things in life. The energy about them is of that. But then, this one kind of threw me off. Is the Eight of Cups, which is walking away and moving on. So, together, what this really tells me, and I'm going to clarify this one and let me explain this why. Just these two together, this tells me that they are optimistic, that they might be jumping the gun, because what are they walking away from? What are they moving on from? What is this emotion that they're moving on from? Have they brought this big change to you? And they're doing it because it's a coping mechanism? You know what I mean? I know it's a cliche, but the whole, you think things are going down south. I'm not saying you particularly, but I know we've seen this in movies and such before, where it's like, well, let's have a baby and seal the deal that way. And that didn't solve the problem. Because they're trying to do something grand, but for the wrong reasons. Is that example of bringing another life into this relationship, be it adoption, be it, however you would go about that, that is a huge commitment. And if you're trying to use that huge commitment to more or less trap your partner with you, that's ridiculously unhealthy. So, I want to know, actually, let's do this binding energy first, and then we'll go back to them, because I do have some questions. They have that energy about them. You have this energy about you, where you're not quite sure if you should be taking this next step. They're leading it off with the Five of Cups, which is grief. It's disappointment. It is a situation where, as an example, not necessarily like the death of a loved one or a friend, and I hope that's nothing that's happening with you, but grief about losing something or someone, be it like, they move away, could be grief, or, this person turns out that they've been using you this whole time or something, or this person, you thought you could depend on them and they fell through every time, and that's disappointment. So there is disappointment in this situation. And then you have this Queen of Swords, which is a logical approach to the truth. This is taking a methodical approach to, instead of going through emotion and using that, it is the cold, calculated answering of a truth. I think we got you down pretty well. Them, interesting. Them, their motives have me concerned. But the issue between the two of you is what's really, really getting me. There is an issue with approaching a problem, approaching a situation, approaching a potential for something better, but it's not as good as it could be. It's not where it needs to be. You aren't quite on the same page about this opportunity, this issue, this problem. You're not on the same page because trying to work through, is this going to be disappointed? Are you going to be disappointed? And then you have the other side of it, trying to work through this logically. Back to the whole kid thing. Could be you, might not be. It's one of those, am I doing this for the right reason? Am I bringing a new life into this relationship because this is the next logical step in progress for us, for your family? Or is this a big mistake? Should we not do this? I want to know what they're walking away from. I want to know what this underlying motive is. Because you don't come to somebody with big grand ideas if you're walking away from something, unless you're either compensating or coping for something. Coping from something, coping for. So the things that they're moving on for. You have the Seven of Cups. So the Seven of Cups is dreaming, which is clarity. And then they have the Lovers, which is values alignment, which is getting on the same page as the other person. I'm starting to see kind of a theme here. And then they have the Two of Wands, which is planning for the future, which is starting a new phase in a relationship. Be it, I keep going back to the whole child thing, but it is the most direct example I can give you. This person, I don't think they understand their priorities. I don't think they quite understand you. They don't quite understand your feelings. This person is in their own head in this situation. They are more so seeing it from, they are seeing you as somebody who you may or may not be. You're kind of on a pedestal here. They're looking up, they're seeing something that they want, they're seeing something glowing and wonderful and amazing. The problem with that is, you know what the honeymoon phase of a relationship is, where the shiny rose-tinted glasses are on. What happens later on when the rose-tinted glasses come off? Are they going to be disappointed? Are they going to feel like they've made a mistake? And here you are, the logical one, really wondering, Is it going to lead to grief and disappointment? That's the problem here, is disappointment, the fear of disappointment. And then this one is more so for you, Libra, which is a logical approach. You're taking that logical approach. They are not. They are all in, going for it, because they want this. They want this. And what they're running from, what they're moving on from, is what they believe is, or what they're moving on from is a lack of clarity. All right? Now, one would think that moving from a lack of clarity to now a state of clarity should be a good thing. But clarity is subjective. What seems good to one person, I should run across this street. Even though there's traffic, I should run across the middle of the street because I get there faster. That's clarity for me. I'm seeing the objective. I see how I'm going to get there, going straight forward. That person has clarity in their action. Your clarity is, hey, if you run across that street, you might get hit by a car. Maybe we should take a safer path. Clarity is subjective here, and their clarity is rushing into something. Now, there's a very real possibility that this could go well, because you have this, you can see that there is good in this as well. Because if you didn't see any good in it, you wouldn't be here watching it. You wouldn't be here watching. You would have already said no. Or if you thought there was a downside, you wouldn't be here watching it. You would have already said yes. So you, using your faculty of reason, Libra, you really going into your own mind to make sure it's the right thing. It's very smart of you, not jumping into it. Because you know deep down that there is something that's not right. And that thing that's not right is motivation. They need to understand that I'm not going to say that they need to slow down, because I don't believe that speed is an issue here. I don't believe that, even if they may seem like they're rushing, they're not pushing hard. What they've done, though, is they've created this situation where you feel like you have to answer. There's no time to really stop and think about it, because they want that victory. They want to be, they have this image of where you both will be so strong in their head that they're missing your side of it. And that's not fair to you. So we have that. We have this situation, but I can't just leave it at that. I can't just leave it at that. I need to get a little bit of, not necessarily closure, but when you have a question right there on the tip of your tongue, but it's just not thinking of how to word it, because I want to be very precise. I want to get you the best possible answers that I can. Got it. This is going to be 2 questions, potentially 3, depending on what the answer is. The first one, broad stroke question. What happens if Libra says yes? Whatever this is, Libra, you decide that you're going to go along with it. What happens? Broad stroke. What happens? What is the most extreme likely outcome here? Fascinating. Okay. My second question is, What happens if you just say no? Whatever this big thing is. Hey, do you wanna get married? Yes, this is an outcome. And hey, do you want to get married? Nah, this will be an outcome. Let's see what this is. So, you were right to question the situation. So, the first question I asked, just to recap the situation here, was what happens if you go along with this? Just full on go along, there's no 50-50, there's no meet in the middle, it's all in your hands. Libra, to your partner, Libra, it's all in your hands. Starting out, you have the Five of Pentacles, which is instability in the physical world. Now, physical world is most of the time has to do with possessions, money, or objects you own. It can also mean your physical health. We as humans exist in the physical world. Instability in your physical world. Meaning, when you first go into it, it's going to be rocky. It really is. Especially if this is a joining of like finances. Let's say this person, you two are living together and they want to start sharing bank accounts. That way bills can be, they have good intentions, but at the same time, are you ready for that step? And that could bring instability, especially if the dynamic is you bring in more money than them. This is not a financial reading, but money has a lot to do with our emotional state, unfortunately, and that emotional state affects others. So let's say in this circumstance, you bring in more money than them. That may cause bitterness. That may cause a feeling, not everybody's like this, but it may cause a feeling of insecurity, like they're not doing enough, and then that just causes problems down the road. I bring that very particular scenario up because there's heartache. There's heartache in this situation. That heartache is because the communication here, the standards set, are not going to be what they need to be. All right? At first, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. And you're going to question, should I have done this? But on the flip side of it, here we have the Six of Cups. Harmony, opening up. It's such a drastic change, but I'm going to explain that because it didn't quite make sense at first, but it starts out rough. You're not sure. The home life is rough. We're not sure what's going on. And then you have, heartache because truths are coming out that, you may not be comfortable with. If you are merging bank accounts, it is legitimately that situation where I'm not pulling my weight or something, may feel inadequate. But the emotional harmony is there because while things on one side are bad, things on one side are good. Money problems can be fixed. Heartache problems, depending on the severity, can be fixed. When it comes to our core emotions, when it comes to our values, that's something that if they don't exist, it's gone. You have to have those values. The opportunity for that is there because the sun showed its face. The sun is the Sun is renewed passion. It is, things will heat up in a very interesting way. Probably a pretty good way, if you know what I mean. If you go along with what they're doing, if you say yes, the opportunity for greatness is there, but it's gonna cost you in the short term. You're gonna jump into it. If you jump into it like they're wanting to, when those rose-tinted glasses come off, there's going to be issues. There really is. They may, be second guessing. You may be second guessing. You may see things, about them, an eagerness and aggressiveness that isn't quite what they showed you at first. Traits that come out after a while. People suppress the worst when they're trying to impress Libra the best. So if you stick through that and get past the heartache, get past the problems, you really do have the opportunity for ridiculous success. You could get the world exactly what you're wanting. It could be right there in your hands. But like I said, it's not going to be an easy road. And that's where that Hermit's coming from. You know deep down, Libra, you're not an idiot. You know life is not easy. But the hope was that it could be easier than what you know deep down it's actually going to be. See, this is you following your intuition. And my wife, I'm telling you, her advice at all times is go with your gut. Very smart of you to do that. Now, on the flip side of it, the question was, no. You have the you have the Nine of Wands, which is self-reliance, which is difficult fulfillment. It is wills that are not aligned. And that's because you said no. There's not a joined effort toward this issue. There's no teamwork toward this issue because what they thought was the way it should be is not. They found out that Libra has a voice too. Now, that brought out the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man is seeing things from a different point of view. Now, different point of view can be good, can be bad. If you know something is right and then start thinking it's wrong, you've seen it from a different point of view. Somebody tells you a lie and somehow that lie makes sense to you and now, or somebody just outright misleads you and causes you to look at somebody or something from a different light. Now you have a completely different opinion of them. That opinion could be a good opinion. You may have seen somebody for who they truly are, or looking at something from a different point of view may make you see something about somebody that is not who they are. So on its own, there's going to be a change of mind, a change of heart, a new viewpoint on how to make it work. Which then brought up the Star. The Star is healing from past relationships. The Star is healing from the past. The past is behind you. What this tells me is that they'll get over it. They will. What may happen is when those rose-tinted glasses come off, and it's not like me, I can't really see too well without them, but if they have their rose-tinted glasses off, and you haven't made that immediate jump into it, they might realize, there's a really good chance of this, that they realize, Libra, I'm really happy that you put your voice out there. And this looks like it can come to a new phase in the relationship as well. This new phase is not the exact same potential outcome as this one. This new phase is one of complacency. This new phase is one of comfort in the now. It is not necessarily one of progress. It is a new status quo will be achieved. Whatever this bold power that they have right now will be gone because they didn't get what they wanted. So they're going to settle into whatever it is that you want. They're going to settle into whatever this new, I don't want to say bland, but this new, it is what it is. It's a really hard choice, Libra. It really is. It's a really, really interesting situation. It's not necessarily a bad one, but both options can lead to really crappy situations depending on how you decide to go about them. But both can also end up in good situations depending on how you go about them. For example, let's say this is a marriage proposal. You get married. Things don't start off well. You get your finances in order. You realize, oh my goodness, this person spends way too much money on stupid stuff. And then you're not bringing in as much money, okay? Somehow, that's just the thing. You guys end up having to move, you're leaving one life behind. You're trying to combine things into one house. The house isn't great. You don't like it, there's not enough stuff. There's not enough room. You start second guessing, did I make the right choice? That heartache hits. Did I really make the right choice here? Is this person who were they supposed to be? But once you get through that, you might come home one day and, you know what? I made this out to be far worse than it was. Or it's bad, but it's way better than what it was before. You've made progress in your life, whereas once you were living in a single bedroom or like a studio apartment somewhere on the bad side of town or whatever. Now you're living in a 3-bedroom home, on the better side of town. Your situation has improved. And they have the opportunity to get better as well with your help. Which leads to the sun, which leads to a renewed passion, a brighter future, pushing for better, because you two will learn how to work together. That is a very real possibility, should you say yes. If you say no, they're not going to be the same, ever. Because they're not going to be able to fulfill the hopes and dreams, the grandeur that they're going for. They won't get that power couple that they believe you to be. They will not get that, the rose-tinted glasses come off eventually, and they see that, or they fall into maybe it's better that things just stay the way they are. And they'll eventually grow to accept that. And that will lead to a new phase in the relationship, which is pretty much perpetual dating. That would be the outcome here. So, whatever this big choice is, whether it be marriage, whether it be bringing a new life, and if you are, congratulations. This is a pivotal moment. And if you don't seize on it, you could really, really, really suffer in the long run. Because if you don't want to be bound to a crappy future or potentially a glorious, amazing future, then you're going to say no. You're going to go your own way and they will grow to accept that is the status quo. Growth is not something that I'm seeing in a future where no is said. But at the same time, you don't have to deal with all the drawbacks of big change. Especially when those rose-tinted glasses come off, because they are going to come off, and they're going to have to realize that nobody can fulfill every single expectation that somebody like this has. It cannot be done. This is the kind of expectation in their mind of what things are, of you being shoved in a room with 5,000 dirty dishes and told you have 10 minutes to clean them all. And I'm talking dirty dishes, like dried on barbecue sauce and such. They may expect more, but you using your strength can force them to expect less. That sounds really bad. You using your strength, Libra, can force them to have realistic expectations, because you do bring a lot to the table. You truly do. You have the best. You want the best. You want the best for the situation. And Libra, you are smart enough. Like, this is something that should be prized. You are smart enough not to just jump right in. You're taking a logical approach because you don't want to be disappointed. That is a trait that, do not ever give that trait up. Do not ever, 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 ever forget to use that powerful gut feeling that you know how to use. Like, Libra, you are one tough person. But don't let doubt cloud your vision. You have a big choice to make. You truly do. Use your logic, use your faculty of reason, and just think. One's gonna be easier to do. One is just easy. The other one is going to start hard, start very difficult, but has the potential to yield really good results. So, I try to keep these videos pretty short and sweet. This one did not turn out that way, but I always want to make sure that you leave here with more answers than questions. Nobody in the world is going to be able to answer every single question, because every single person has different, very specific circumstances. But Libra, having an overall knowledge of what's going on, having an overall knowledge of their energy going into it, and your energy going into it, and knowing that you are in the right place. Sometimes we doubt our own motives. Don't doubt your motives. You are in the right state of mind. You are where you should be. They, on the other hand, are not quite in the right state of mind, but their intentions are not those of abuse. They're not those of control. They're not those of, showing off. This person has dreams of, aligning values of, a powerful future. This person truly does, at least in this instance, they do want the best. But so do you. So Libra, don't wait too long though. Don't wait too long, or this will pass you by and it will be the exact same as saying no. But also, don't feel like you have to say yes. All right? Libra, you're strong, you're smart, really smart. Use that. Use that power you have. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.